Welcome back to New Orleans Radio Row at the New Orleans Convention Center. New Orleans hosting Super Bowl 59 between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles. The very first Super Bowl this kid attended, I was a young man at the time, still I'm a young man in a way, was way back in Tampa Bay, 2001, when this man, our next guest, his team, the Baltimore Ravens, defeated the New York Giants. Coach
that?
Brian Billick.
That was your first Super Bowl?
That was my first, baby.
Really? We both got some good memories.
You were my first.
Nothing like the first, right? I love it.
How you doing, Coach?
I am doing great. It's great to get back. I love coming back to Radio Row and Super Bowl during the week. You see, I've already run into tons of players and my former players, and it's always great to connect.
Just bumped into Kyle Richardson.
Yeah, Kyle, great punter for me, great kid.
Before we talk about the game and we talk about Next Tech and all that stuff, I'm hurt. My feelings are hurt.
Uh-oh. Yeah, I know.
You were in Vancouver. You said, my sister lives on Bowen Island.
Yeah.
I want to go golf, and I got Vancouver Golf Club all ready for you. I talked to my guys. I said, Billick's going to come out golfing. You came to Vancouver. You did a little commando mission in and out.
I did.
You did some sort of speaking engagement.
You know what? And because I was going international, I was second-guessing about bringing my clubs. Mm-hmm. And going through that whole thing.
25% tariff.
Is it for now? Well, if you became the 51st state, then I wouldn't have to worry about that.
Them fighting words right there.
No, it was a gorgeous day. What a great time. I mean, I was in and out quick, but it was just
if you tell me
one of those beautiful days.
If you tell me you didn't see your sister, I won't feel as bad.
I didn't see my sister. That's because she doesn't live on Bowen Island anymore.
Oh, where's she live now?
She's moved down to Palm Springs.
Oh, okay. So she doesn't even live up there.
No. But, boy, it was a gorgeous – and sat there all morning having breakfast and watching those commuter airlines landing on the bay from the outer islands.
It's funny?
That was pretty cool.
We were talking to JT the Brick, and he came up for the Stones concert in July or June. I can't remember. Anyway, he said the exact same thing. The float planes coming in and out.
Oh, it was amazing. And they just one after the other, and the way and all the other ferry traffic and the whatever. It was just a gorgeous day.
So let's get into this game a little bit. And, first let's talk about your product here that you got going, X-Tech, the shoulder pads.
I'm really proud of being part of X-Tech. We've been 13 years, and we're the number one pad in the NFL and in pro football, better than 90%. Major college, high school, what I'm really excited about.
Hey, you forgot something. Canadian Football League, BC Lions.
That's exactly right.
Our guy Aaron was telling us.
Well, pro football, like I said, 90%. It encompasses them all. But I'm really excited about the fact we're getting into the youth pad. Because I've got two grandsons, 12 and 9. I got a third one, obviously, here, but he's only 6 weeks old. But they love the game, and the fact that we can now protect them. The great thing about this is it's the technology has caught up in a needed area like the pads, because we've got 13 years of experience, now AI-driven, in terms of it's not just big pads on big pads and little pads on little guys. This is based on your height, your weight, your playing position, your injury history. As is the case with technology, it's basically fitted to what your needs are. That's the best thing about technology, that can isolate what best serves you. Best pad on the market. It's the way to keep our players safe.
What's crazy, too, is just that these pads that we have in front of us, and you'll be able to see on social media, are much smaller, much more protective than the pads that we used to see in the days of Ronnie Lott and Kenny Easley. Remember those highlight reels from the 80s and the defensive linemen?
The mentality was, let's just get bigger. And the same thing with the helmets. But now they're finding, no, it needs to be more specific. We have the technology, the helmets that are now fitted from the give in the right spot. You don't need the just pure padding, because that doesn't work. It's a little counterintuitive. But the specialized protection we can provide the players, and X-Tech pads at the forefront of it.
How do you balance player safety with improved technology and not allowing players to be reckless or fearless? Because you know what it's like. Oh, I got great pads. I got great. I'm a human torpedo now.
That balance tends to work itself out, and understanding players, particularly when you get to the pro level, have an understanding of their vulnerabilities in the game. It's like when we were going through the transition of the non-targeting and how putting a lot of pressure on the defensive players in terms of where they could hit a quarterback and where they could hit a defenseless receiver. The great players adapt. Ray Lewis still was Ray Lewis, but he realized, okay, I've got to adapt the way I do it in the way I'm going to hit now because of the rules and for my own protection. And so they adjust to it. But you're right, because there are those people that even advocate, well, let's take the helmet out of the game. Let's take the helmets off so that players then would scale back and not use their head. Now, I don't know that necessarily makes sense to me, but the fact that we're putting our players now in, and it's a great game, but it is physical, it is violent, but we have the ability to protect them now in so many different ways, from the way we train and do the heart calculations and the energy, the helmets, and then the shoulder pads, X-Tech pads is at the forefront of that.
Super Bowl winning coach Brian Billick is our guest here at Radio Row in New Orleans. Do you still follow the Ravens quite a bit? Do you keep tabs on your old team?
I do, not as much as I, obviously, yeah. and I watch the league as a whole. You kept tabs on
them pretty, like when you coached them, you kept tabs on them pretty
just good. A little bit. But I've got so many friends still in the league, coaches, that I tend to wander from one team to the next based on that. But I do keep up with the Ravens and the phenomenal job, and Lamar Jackson, what a like the Patrick Mahomes here, what just a truly unique and special player.
What would it take for the Ravens to get over the hump? Because obviously they've been knocking on the door. A lot of people thought the addition of Derrick Henry could be that, missing piece. But
no, I don't think there's anything strategically, tactically that you can do differently, because they're just keep adding good players, and they keep doing that. At some point, fate does take a hand. Now, I don't want to just say, well, you just got to be lucky. So, because then you could say, well, then I don't need to work hard because I'm either lucky enough to win it or not. They've done the right things. They've transition the players. They're an outstanding team. They're well coached. They've got the right scheme, and they're just a play or two short. A Dennis the tight end
Mark Andrews.
Andrews catch away from maybe being Buffalo, beating Kansas City. All they need is a toe touch from Likely. So the margins are that tight. They'll continue to work hard, do the right things, and at some point it'll happen.
Brian Billick is our guest. Okay, as you talk about margins and doing those things, how come Kansas City's so damn good at doing those things?
It's amazing that and certainly you've got to begin with Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. They have just what I've said. They've adapted themselves from a high-flying, high-scoring, we're going to outscore everybody team to where – the personnel and the changes that you go through as an organization. They're now a team, notwithstanding Patrick Mahomes, they're a team based on great defense and running the ball. That's who they are right now. And that's why the margins, that's why they haven't won as big. They win, but not as big, because when you play, as I know very from firsthand, you play great defense, run the ball, the margins are going to be tighter. You're going to win a bunch of 3-point games, 7-point games. And they've mastered that, and that's where they are right now.
We've talked to a lot of people this week. I think it was Chris Sims that said this from NBC's Pro Football Talk. It's got to be a 10-point game in the last 5 minutes for the Eagles to win this. Would you concur if it's a one-score game, Kansas City pulls it out?
Well, yeah, it goes back to the classic. If you give Kansas City a chance at the end of the game, we've seen this story. We know how this goes, and Patrick Mahomes can do that. So yes, if you're asking me right now, will Philadelphia win if we're under 3 minutes and they're only up by 3 or 7? You're right. I wouldn't take that bet, because if you're going to give that one more possession. But on the flip side of that is, unlike Buffalo, who had that opportunity, yes, you gave Patrick Mahomes, and yes, pursuant to their year, they didn't score a touchdown. They kicked a field goal, but the ball was in their court. In Buffalo, they had a chance to do it and couldn't pull it off, and that wasn't because of Patrick Mahomes, it's because of the good defense. Philadelphia is good enough, and I think physical enough, that if the reverse is true and they give Philadelphia the ball and a chance to win on that last possession, I think Philadelphia is good enough to do it. So the game's going to be that tight a margin game.
All right, from your coaching perspective, the X's and O's perspective, what are some of the things you're going to be watching for on Sunday?
I'm going to be watching red zone efficiency. Okay. I think that's been the story all year for Kansas City, where typically they get in the red zone and they'd be 4 out of 5 touchdowns when they get down there. Now they're not, but they get field goals, okay? Can Philadelphia, who is a physical running team and who is very good at, when they get into the red zone, can they pound it in and win that ratio? If it's straight up, then obviously you're going to give Kansas City the edge. But I think Philadelphia is good enough to, not that Kansas City isn't, but they're good enough defensively to maybe keep Kansas City to the field goal, like a lot of teams have. And the fact that they're not as explosive, I think the running game and their ability to score and red zone efficiency early on, I'm going to be very interested to see. Does Kansas City go the length of the field and have to settle for a field goal? Does Philadelphia go the length of the field and then pound it in?
Before we let you go, Coach, xtechpads.com. Again,
check it out.
Leaders in shoulder pad technology. And by the way, when we talk about the Lions, I know Aaron and the guys have these with the Lions. They've got them in the locker room. All those high school coaches that are listening in BC, in the Lower Mainland, check out xtechpads.com. As I said, the Lions are using this product as we speak, and as Coach Billick mentioned, over 90% of the pro teams, and I imagine just a slew of college teams as well.
Yeah, excited about being in the youth league as well.
All right, before we let you go, again, you were my first, so I'm just going to be nice. And the fact that you were in Vancouver, it's okay. You were busy.
That happened. Business calls. Appreciate it. We'll do that, though. I'd let you get me on a golf course up there. Looked like there's some beautiful ones up there.
There's beautiful
would have been
courses.
A beautiful day to play.
Oh, without a doubt. Next time, just make it a 2-3 day trip.
We'll do
instead
it.
of one. Coach, thanks for doing this.
Thank you. I appreciate it.